And salutations, salutations and peace and harmony and just enough chaos in life to prod you in the direction of balancing, because it really is all a balancing act. It really and truly is. Okay, so we're going to welcome Pavel. I just got off the phone with my mother. Let me put my phone on silence. And my other phone, which is my business line, so I'm going to make sure that's silenced. Okay, so we are back. And we're going to continue our exploration on the Bhagavad Gita, translation by Edward Viljoen. This is the simplified English, which is a paraphrase. I really do like these paraphrases. They're awesome. Okay, so yesterday we ended with chapter 12. And today we are on chapter 13. And that is one of my copper ankhs created by, manifested by Naeem Davis of Infinite Treasures, LLC. You can find them on Etsy, excuse me, Facebook. You can find them on Etsy and Facebook and Instagram, where he frequently goes live. Okay, so I just turned my mic on. Are you guys able to hear me with the mic? Let me know if you can hear me. Whoops. And this is that's my favorite ankh that has, thank you, Pavel, that has a copper sphere, a solid copper sphere as the third eye, and flanked by two pyrite dodecahedrons and two elite shungite. My favorite aspect of this ankh design, I really love this coil. I love that coil. And then you have pyrite in the handle and shungite sphere on the bottom. And this is pyrite, two pyrites there on the side. And this design with the copper, with the iron, with the carbon, it is the melanin of infinity. Infinity, melanin, trinity, melanin, infinity, trinity of melanin, infinity, something like that. It enhances melanin. So I hold these during meditation and energy healing. Okay, so back to what's at hand. Make sure this light is good. Okay, chapter 13. Lord Krishna said, "And there is more, Arjuna. I will explain something that will help you understand." Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I did finish on 12 yesterday, right? I did finish 12. Let me start over again. Lord Krishna said, "And there is more, Arjuna. I will explain something that will help you understand. Think of the body. Think of the body of creation as a field, and think of the part of you that is aware of creation as the knower. To add to this idea, I am the knower of the field in you. Creation, the field itself, consists of the 5 parts of sense perception, the 5 elements, the 5 sense organs, the 5 organs of action, and the 3 components of mind, which are the I, maker, or ego, ahankara, discrimination, buddhi, and reason, manas, as well as all the undifferentiated energy from which these things evolve. It is in this field, through an interaction of the elements I have mentioned, that desires, aversions, pleasures, and pain arise. The body, the intellect, and the will also arise from this field. I just want to interject in here because, like I said before, when I'm reading it, I start getting a lot of ideas. But then by the time I get to the end, I don't remember half of them. As I mentioned before, Albert Einstein stated that, he cherished the Bhagavad Gita and it inspired many of his theories. And thinking of this field, would that be dark matter? Would that be, the scientists, physicists, they say space is not empty. There is something that's connecting everything together. Is this the field that Krishna is talking about? Is it the net of Indra? I suppose it may be the net of Indra. Indra's net would be mentioned in here. Would that be string theory, superstring theory? So just something to think about. Sutras, this stuff is not just myths. It's the way our ancestors connected with the universe, with life. And it's like they knew things that we are just now discovering through external means, with microscopes, telescopes, what do they call it? Hadron colliders, that thing over at CERN's, which I don't know what they're doing over there, but, yeah. So that's just what that reminds me of. And we'll continue. It is in this field, through an interaction of the elements I have mentioned, that desires, aversions, pleasures, and pain arise. The body, the intellect, and the will also arise from this field. Those who know this are unmoved by pride or deceit. Let me read that once again. Those who know this are unmoved by pride or deceit. They are gentle, forgiving, and filled with inner strength. Those who know that they are the knowers are free from selfish entanglement. They are not even attached to possessions or family, but are even-minded in all things. They enjoy solitude. They do not run with the crowd. That self within you is without senses, yet it functions through the senses. It is beyond time and form, completely independent. And it supports all things and enjoys the play of creation. It is indivisible, yet appears divided into many parts. It is creator, preserver, and destroyer, all at once. It is the object and source of all wisdom. Both the field and the knower are endless. The knower is the source of every action, but the field is where sensations exist. The knower witnesses it all. Whoever realizes this relationship, no matter what path they follow, steps out of the cycle of birth and death and is united with me. Some realize it through meditation, others through study, others through selfless service, yet others through faithful adherence to a teacher. So you have mentioned there Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, and I believe the faithful adherence to a teacher. I don't know, is that Jnana Yoga? It's probably Jnana Yoga. Bhakti Yoga would be, I guess, devotion to a deity. Whatever path they follow, they realize that everything else, let me repeat that. Whatever path they follow, they realize that everything exists as a result of the interaction of the knower and the known. Knowing this, they no longer make the mistake of believing in death. They are eternal. They see eternal life at the center of all beings. Seeing this, they harm no one. They recognize that the knower, their true self, remains unmoved. It neither acts nor is touched by action, remaining untroubled even though it is in all of life. Those who see this find peace. Okay, chapter 14. Ooh. Okay, where are we? Lord Krishna said, "Now let me tell you more about the subtle forces of creation I have been mentioning. These forces make up the womb into which I place the seed from which everything is born. Three dispositions or qualities of the material nature and bind everything together. The first quality, sattva, is harmony, truth, and goodness, and is the bond to purity, happiness, and wisdom. The second quality, rajas, is energy or passion, and is the bond to compulsion and attachment. The third quality, tamas, is indifference and ignorance, and is the bond to delusion, sloth, and indolence. At any time, in anything, one of these three qualities is dominant and establishes the nature or binding of a thing. For example, when harmony, truth, and goodness dominate, wisdom and understanding shine from that person. When passion dominates, that person is driven by a restless desire to satisfy that passion through possession or the experience of getting. When indifference or ignorance is the ruling quality, that person is easily confused. Those who live in harmony, truth, and goodness evolve upward. Those who live in passion remain stuck in earthly pursuits, staying where they are. Those who live in indifference or ignorance seek further and further into confusion. Of course, the knower is beyond the three qualities. And as I said, those who discover the truths of the knower within are not subject to these forces. Arjuna said, "Well then, tell me about when a person has transcended the three qualities. What is that person like?" Lord Krishna responds, "They are unmoved by any of this. They remain impartial, whether these forces are active or inactive or not." Let me read that over again. The brain gets away with me. They remain impartial, whether these forces are active or not. They realize that it is these qualities that the subtle forces of creation at work. They realize that in these qualities and this, wait a minute. Okay, I see what I missed. They realize that it is these qualities and the subtle forces of creation at work. So they remain unchanged. They are established in inner peace where I dwell. And so they stay unchanged through pleasure and pain, good times and bad times. And let me tell you, those are goals. I'm looking at that and I'm seeing where I sorely missed the mark on, where I need to, yeah. Chapter 15. Lord Krishna says, sages describe this worldly life as a sacred tree with branches below and roots above. It is fed by the three qualities and blooms into the sensory world, influencing all action. People cannot see its complete form. Cut down this worldly tree with your detachment, and then find the path that does not return to rebirth. Free yourself from pride and ignorance and remain aware of the real self within. For once you arrive at that radiant home, there is no leaving again. I send fragments of myself to become the inner self in all creatures. I enter at conception and depart at death. The ignorant do not see me within, but the wise recognize me as the driving force of their lives and are aware of me at the hour of their death. There are two classes of being in this world, the impermanent and the permanent. Bodies are impermanent, but the self within is eternal. And beyond both the impermanent and permanent is the highest self. I am that highest self, the ultimate person. Whoever knows me as such has found wisdom. So we have the Atman, which is ourself, and the Para Atman. So I guess Krishna is stating that he is the Para Atman, that spark of divinity within. Okay, chapter 16. Lord Krishna said, my further advice to you is that you discipline yourself to be sincere, truthful, loving, and selfless in your service. Do not get angry and harm no living creature. Practice compassion and kindness with patience and a forgiving mind. These qualities lead to freedom and peace. These qualities are natural to you. You are born with them, but those who follow a downward path ignore them. These people, forsaking their divine tendencies, begin to believe that there is no creator, no pattern, no truth, and no cause. They see none of the interplays of spiritual energy, and they deny spirit as the knower within them. They are driven by the endless need to satisfy their cravings. As a result, they are anxious and scheming. They are hoarders and strugglers, and they can never be satisfied. Repeating habits of violence, arrogance, and craving, they abuse even my presence within them. The primary doorways to this self-destructive behavior are labeled as lust, greed, and anger. So again, I advise you, don't walk through those doors. Look to the scriptures for your guidance and shape your life to them. Chapter 17, Arjuna says, now wait a minute. What about people who do not follow the scriptures but still have hearts of faith? What about them? Lord Krishna says, every creature has a faith of some kind. Remember the three qualities of sattva, harmony, truth, and goodness, rajas, energy or passion, and tamas, indifference and ignorance. People have a faith that conforms to whatever qualities is dominant in them. Those in whom sattva is strongest, they have faith in God. Those in whom rajas is strongest, they have faith in power. Those in whom tamas is strongest, they have faith in superstition. Each of these qualities expresses itself through people's attitudes, food preferences, work habits, etc. Truth-filled people tend toward food that is mild, tasty, agreeable, and nourishing. Passion-filled people tend toward salty, bitter, or spicy food. I guess I'm a passion-filled person. Indifference-governed folk go for overcooked, bland, stale food that has lost its nutritional value. That's like processed food to the modern humanity, processed food. Similarly, these qualities govern spiritual practices. Truth-centered people have their thought on the purpose of their observance, whereas passion-centered people go for the show and recognition. Indifferent people miss both the form and the spirit of the practice and stumble their way through their practice without understanding what they are doing or why they are doing it. To practice with a spirit of calmness, gentleness, and purity is truth-centered. To practice with the goal of achieving status or admiration is passion-centered, and the rewards are transitory in their effect. To practice for the purpose of gaining power over others is indifference-centered and is self-deluding. Similarly, giving because it is the right thing to do, giving because it is right to do so without thought of return is true giving. Giving with regrets or in pursuit of some favor is passion giving. Giving without affection or respect is indifferent giving. So I guess it really is the thought behind it, the thought that matters, not the gift itself, but the thought went behind it. Okay, we are on chapter 18 and the final chapter. Chapter 18, Arjuna says, Lord, please explain to me the different ways of renunciation. Lord Krishna responds, there is the refraining from selfish acts, and there is the refraining from the fruits of action. It is a subtle distinction, and there is a confusion of teachings regarding what to give up and what not to give up. Most certain is this: it is not right to renounce responsibility. Instead, to fulfill your responsibility while desiring nothing for yourself is the true meaning of renunciation. It is a mistake to forsake work and spiritual practice by saying you are renouncing action. That is just self-deception. Indeed, in a way, it is impossible to renounce action while you live in a body. And by the way, if you are attached to recognition, you will have mixed rewards, some pleasant and others not. But those who renounce attachment to outcome step out of the reach of karmic consequences. Let's read that one more time. But those who renounce attachment to outcome step out of the reach of karmic consequences. 5 elements contribute to every action: the physical body, the acting mind or ego, various energies such as the senses and intellect, various ways of performing action, and the divine will, or the consequences of past action. Those who do not understand the nature of action think of themselves as doing everything. There are three moving causes. There are three moving causes for each action. They are the subject, the object, and knowledge of the object. Similarly, there are three components to the accomplishment of any action: the implement, the act, and the agent. And all of it may be understood in terms of the three qualities of sattva, rajas, and tamas. In the mode of sattva, which is harmony, truth, and goodness, one sees the single, undivided one in all beings and performs even obligatory duty without likes and dislikes, remaining unattached to the result. In this mode, one is non-egotistic and has resolve and enthusiasm while being undisturbed by success or failure. In the mode of rajas, energy or passion, one sees differences among beings and abandons duty merely because it is difficult or because of fear of physical struggle. In this mode, one performs actions with selfish motives and exerts too much effort, being over-attached to the outcome. And greed, violence, and extremes of joy and sorrow are common. In the mode of tamas, indifference and ignorance, one is undisciplined, vulgar, stubborn, and deceitful. In this mode, one is easily depressed and prone to procrastination. There are also three types of understanding and will. Sattva governs the awareness of when to act and when not to act. Rajas causes confusion between what is right and wrong, and tamas governed people tend to become involved in actions that should be avoided. There are even three kinds of happiness. Pleasure that is ruled by sattva may seem like poison at first, but tastes like honey at the end. A mind that is governed by harmony, goodness, and truth is a mind that is at peace with itself. Pleasure from the senses seems like honey at first, but is bitter and poisonous at the end. This is pleasure ruled by rajas. Those who are governed by tamas draw their satisfaction from sleep and intoxication. They are deluded both in the beginning and the end. There is no being, either on earth or among celestial beings, who is free from these three modes. Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot in there. As I was reading that, I can definitely see in my own life how at various times, either in a week or even in a day, where there are moments where I'm very sattvic. They're few and far in between, I will admit that. And there's moments where I definitely rajas. I'm a lot of rajas. And I also see, unfortunately, where there's moments where I really sink into tamas. Okay, let's see. All right, so we're getting to the home stretch. Let me tell you how, by devotion to your duty, you can attain spiritual perfection. It is better to perform one's duties imperfectly than to master the duties of another. In other words, be yourself. Do what you're here to do. Don't try to imitate other people. I was on one of the I was about to say message board that really dates me. Those of us who remember the old internet, the old interwebs, as my eldest refers to it. We had message boards, but I meant to say Facebook. I was on this one Facebook group for coaches, and one of the coaches was mentioning how she was helping another coach. Uh, and the next thing she knows, the coach goes to her website and completely copies verbatim all of her verbiage, puts it on her website, and then copies her programs and puts it on her website. No. Follow your own path. Don't copy and mimic another person's. Anyway, back to the reading. Perform your natural duty to the best of your ability as a service to the divine, without the tendency to abandon duties because they are imperfect. Oh my gosh. That's like me washing my dishes every day, and it seems like there's an endless pile of dishes, and I just want to give up. Every action, every action, every activity is surrounded by defects. Let's read that again. Every action, every activity is surrounded by defects. Further, it is essential to purify the mind through spiritual practice and to step back from the influence of the senses with resolve so that you can avoid being governed by the illusions of likes and dislikes. Take pleasure in solitude. Eat lightly and take command of your mind, speech, and actions. Make every act an offering to me. Remember me in every activity, and you will overcome every difficulty through my grace. You have been given this wisdom, yet you remain free to do as you choose. But do not share this wisdom with those who lack devotion or self-control. Here is my promise to you. If anyone reads or studies these teachings that I'm giving to you, I will consider that by doing so, they have worshiped me. Such worship I consider a sacrifice well made, and the devotion of their minds shall rise to me. Even that person who listens to these teachings with faith and without scorn will have both feet pointed toward me, and during his or her periods of rest will be granted access to the perfect peace. Have you listened attentively, Prince? What is there to say about your previous state of confusion now? Arjuna replies, you have dispelled my fears and doubts. Through your grace, my delusions have been dispelled, and my faith is firm, and so I will act. And Sanjaya ends with, this is the conversation I heard between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Remembering this holy conversation fills me with awe and wonder. Wherever these words of Lord Krishna and Prince Arjuna are heard, there the Lord and Prince are present. And where they are present, prosperity, attainment, happiness, and blessings abound. Of this I am sure. And thus we reach the end of our reading. So I'm going back, and Pavel corrected me. Jana is Nana. The J is silent. And Jansen says LOL. And yeah, the three gunas, yes, tamas, rajas, and sattva, they are three modes of existence. And, our aim is towards the sattva, And I can just see how those three forms are interwoven in my daily life. Mostly sattva and tamas. On a good day, mostly rajas and tamas. On a good day, the sattva is there. You know, it's that never-ending spiral, never-ending pursuit, forming everything. So this really gives us a lot of food for thought. And my favorite part in this reading is where Lord Krishna says, now, this is laid out before you. You have all the information. You can choose it, or you don't have to. It's okay. Because in the end, it is our mode of nature that is going to determine where we go next, what we do next, and what we focus on will definitely manifest. So let me scroll to the bottom. Be yourself. Be yourself. You know, there are some of us who in this particular manifestation and lifetime living in tamas. And tamas may completely rule their being, their existence. And for some, they lean more towards the rajas, you know, the pursuit of power. And it's okay. It's okay. We are where we're supposed to be. So here you go. That was a reading from, let's see, I'm going to try to, okay, the Essential Wisdom Library, the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God Retold in Simplified English, this translation by Edward Viljoen. And now just to give you an idea, so, hold on 1 second. So the first part of the book right here, this little part, this is the introduction and kind of gives you a background. And then this part here, this is the whole Bhagavad Gita paraphrase. So it's relatively short. And then this is the Mahabharata, the backstory from the Mahabharata. So, and of course, you can always purchase the Mahabharata. And this one, let's see. Oh, it's interesting. So let's see. The next chapter is the backstory for the Mahabharata. It gives you sort of like a time frame and twists and turns and supernatural solutions. Meet Gandhari. Back when I was at the new Panahati temple in Atlanta, the president of the temple was Balabhadra, and his wife was Mother Gandhari. So here it says meet, I mean, they're not talking about that Gandhari, but here it talks about meet Gandhari, talks about the battle within. And then it goes further, the next chapter, speaking of the Bhagavad Gita, it's a book of, the Mahabharata, I guess, is a book of war for times of peace. Or is that the Bhagavad Gita, that is. Mohandas Gandhi called the Bhagavad Gita a book of priceless worth. He referred to it for guidance and recited certain verses from his daily prayers. And, you know, we all know who Mahatma Gandhi was. And was he perfect? Was he a saint? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he still had worth. He still had worth to our culture. Dr. Martin Luther King was no saint, but he still had worth. There's a lot of the spiritual leaders who had, you know, a mixture of rajas and sattva and tamas in them. We all have it. And sometimes they led a lot in the rajas and a lot in the tamas. But, you know, I'm a big believer that truth isn't everything. Everything can be our teacher. And because, I was in one of my yoga classes, someone posted on the forum, I'm looking at a lot of these yoga schools and the lineages and the teachers. There's a lot of scandal around these teachers and what they did. And I don't feel comfortable, teaching through their lineage. But it's like that is part of who we are. We are all saints and sinners. But where do we want to be at the time of death is something to remember. All right, I'm going to not belabor this. You would definitely do yourself good to get this copy of the Bhagavad Gita and add to your collection. This is my third copy. I have Srila Prabhupada's The Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I have Eknath Ishwaran translation and commentary of the Bhagavad Gita. I have Stephen Mitchell's, which is really written in like a poetic form, translation of the Bhagavad Gita, and now this one, very enriching. So thank you to Pavel for inspiring me to not give up on this series. So I came back and re-recorded it and used a different translation. And maybe one day I might do a recording with the Srila Prabhupada's translation. So you guys have a great day. My duty calls me to go do the dishes. Thanks for being here. I wish you peace and great bliss. Please thumbs up this video, help get it in the algorithms and get more people to the channel. Please click subscribe and so that you'll know when I'm live. And I am committed to doing more lives. I know for a year and a half or so I was really slack and almost non-existent of them, but I am back. I wish you peace and great bliss. Thank you for being here. I'm Tamu Priestess Heart. Much love. Until next time, keep going.